My next guest, known as the Nostradamus of U.S. elections for correctly predicting 9 of the last 10 presidential races, using his own 13 keys to the White House, criteria a candidate must win in order to achieve victory. Well, he now says that he's ready to call the race. American University history professor Alan Lichtman joins me now. Professor, all right, here it is. Who will win the next president of the United States?
According to the keys to the White House, which has been right for 40 years, we are going to have a precedent-breaking victory. Kamala Harris will be president of the United States.
Now, I'm looking at the true keys, the false keys, and you have some TBDs on the screen as well. Under your criteria, Harris obtains 8 keys, the minimum, by the way, to win, according to you. But can any of these keys potentially flip before the election? I mean, you got social unrest. If that breaks out, have you ever changed your prediction?
I have never changed my prediction once I've made a final call. The notion of an October surprise is a myth. All my predictions have been before the October surprise, and they have all held. Social unrest doesn't suddenly emerge. It takes a long time for there to be enough social unrest to turn the key, which requires massive, sustained social unrest. With a maximum of 5 keys down and likely 4, Harris is well short of what's needed to predict her defeat and give Donald Trump the White House again.
Oh, man. Yeah, we got to talk about Alan Lichtman, the Nostradamus of election predictions. Yeah, that guy you just saw on the screen who incorrectly predicted that Kamala was going to win this election. He's been quiet for a little while lately, but he's recently popped his head out, and I want to show you guys what he said because it is just like, wow, these Democrats, they just don't learn. They have not learned after this election, and as Scott Jennings said, I guess it's a good sign for 2028. But before we get into that, I want to show you guys this clip of his reaction on election night because he was live streaming with, I believe, his son, and I want to show you guys his face as he starts to realize, oh crap, my reputation is going down the toilet. This is live now. This is live. This wasn't like, you know, he was prepared for it and then he came out. Like, no, they were live streaming on the night of the election. And this was his reaction. With that being said, let's dive in.
Pennsylvania, to be honest with you.
You're nuts, dude. You're nuts.
I know, I can't.
You're nuts.
But not based on the vote, but based on how far ahead she is compared to Biden.
Okay.
Still giving New York Times Trump a slight edge.
In Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I don't see it. Wow. I think she's going to win Pennsylvania, despite what the New York Times is projecting.
Yeah, they don't know what they're talking about.
I don't see how she doesn't win Pennsylvania.
I agree.
Because he won Pennsylvania and she's doing better.
Don't get too wrapped up in the New York Times projection. I don't even know if they're mathematically sound. Don't get too wrapped up in them.
I'm worried about everything. I still think she's going to win Pennsylvania, but...
Yeah, me too. What is looking iffy to you right now?
The New York Times is projecting Trump to win all 3 of the blue all states.
What?
Yep. A lot of processing of mail ballots in Pennsylvania.
Well,
they not counting them until today.
49.3% for Bucks in Harris when it was 51 for Biden. Philadelphia 78 for Harris when it was 81 for Biden.
Not good. Votes that are going to be counted tomorrow.
Dad, there's not going to be that many.
But it's probably not going to be enough. Well, there may be other votes. Remember, overseas votes can come in late.
Doesn't that count as provisional votes? Or no? It has to. That's counted in provisional votes. Yeah.
You know, God, what is our country coming to?
This is the first moment of the night where I've lost hope a little bit.
Good thing I have nothing to do tomorrow.
Yeah, I took off work tomorrow.
and I'm not doing any interviews.
Good.
I'm done with that.
I think she lost. I hate to say that because I've been hopeful all night, but I think she lost.
I do too.
Absolutely hilarious, right? Watching him go from, oh yeah, I think she's got this in the bag, to, yeah, I think she lost too. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Well, he recently went on to News Nation with Chris Cuomo, and I want you guys to hear his reasoning as to why he was wrong. And let me tell you this, he just digs himself in a deeper hole. I mean, it's absolutely shameful. I mean, he is burying his own self at this point.
The other thing that's unique about this election is the explosion of elements that have always been present, the dark side of American history, but that have been agitated to an unprecedented degree in this election. And I'm talking about racism, misogyny, xenophobia, anti-Semitism, with a woman of color being a particular target. And these things cross ethnic and racial lines. The first xenophobic law in America goes all the way back to 1798, the Alien and Sedition Acts. And guess who the enemy was then? The French, who were ethnically and racially indistinguishable from the settlers in England. Then it's the Jews, the Germans, the Irish, the Mexicans, the Muslims. There's always an other. And, you know, I can give you example after example of how these issues.
No, but look, we get it. I get the concepts. I just want to test the application with the context of what we saw happen in the election. So I stipulate, of course, and I know it makes some people uncomfortable, but race and gender matter in America in choosing leaders.
They always have.
It can be positive. It can be negative. I think sometimes it's a percentage of both, but it's real. I don't dispute that. There's no reason to be ignorant. However, when you look at this, it leads to a suggestion, Professor, that all the white people came out to vote for Trump and not the black woman. We don't really see that
as I explained,
in the demos.
It's not limited to white people.
Right, because black voters didn't come out. The Democrats lost because they underperformed, Alan. The Democrats lost because they underperformed. They misread the main motivators for the voters, and they underperformed. Black women pulled a heavy load for the Democrats again, but they couldn't overcome black men, Latino women, married women. You know, even though reproductive rights matters, it wasn't everything for them. And you saw it in a lot of demos. So can it just be as simple as we're racist?
Yeah. He blamed losing on racism, and he also talks about misinformation and disinformation, and I'm going to play that clip as well for y'all, because he talks about Elon Musk and Republicans spreading disinformation.
I think two things this year and maybe going forward broke this premise of a rational, pragmatic electorate. And these are trends that are not new, but have exploded this year beyond anything we've ever seen before. First is disinformation. Always had disinformation, but we've never had anything remotely on this scale. We're billionaires, and I don't know how much Elon Musk is worth. I'm sure more than $100 billion, who control critical sources of information for the electorate. I mean, Elon Musk owns X, and I've seen reports that his disinformation that he's put out has been viewed by 2 billion viewers, vastly more influential than the New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, CBS. Tremendous and it's not unique to him. Billionaires are putting this out all over the place.
So they lost because of racism, and Elon Musk is a billionaire and he owns X. Well, I think you forgot Zuckerberg, who had Zuckerbucks in benefit of Democrats, owns Instagram and Facebook. He owns 2 social media platforms, not just one. You have Jeff Bezos, who owns the Washington Post. Kind of interesting, huh? Kind of interesting, which is completely left-wing. And you saw that when Jeff Bezos announced that they weren't going to endorse anyone publicly. His entire company, all the workers, some of them quit, just flat out quit. So yeah, he doesn't want to mention that, but it's just Elon's fault. Okay. The place where you can basically speak freely, it's Elon's fault. You would think where there's a free flow of information and ideas, you could win that. But you can't. And that is why they always go back to blaming Elon. Elon has basically taken Trump's place in terms of public enemy, right? Elon is public enemy number 1. Trump is public enemy number 2 at this point. Because they want to get rid of freedom of speech. And it's a recurring thing. They keep talking about misinformation and disinformation. It's just this whole, and I played clips of that for you guys. Van Jones calling for the censoring of speech. The View calling for the censoring of speech. I believe there's also a clip on MSNBC where they were doing the same thing. Like, all of these different networks are now calling for the censoring of speech, the policing of speech. Kamala Harris was talking about it before the election. Tampon Tim was saying the same thing. They were all trying to censor speech, and now they're doubling down on it because they realize they can't win if they don't censor speech. They'll lose every single time. When they could censor speech, then they could control the narrative. But when they can't, they don't get to control the narrative. And when they can't control the narrative, everything that they disagree with is disinformation. And that is why freedom of speech is so important, guys. So important. I don't care whether you like what somebody says or you don't like what somebody says. They should have the right and the ability to say it. If you want to refute it, you can refute it very, very easily. Okay? But they should have the right to say it. Now let's get into his 13 keys. Y'all remember I literally made an entire video on his 13 keys and how easily it was to debunk what he was saying. Okay? It was total and utter BS what he was saying. No social unrest. The whole Israel Hamas whole situation, that wasn't social unrest. They were literally rioting on campuses. No scandals. Pushing out Biden, saying that it was his decision to walk away. No scandals, really? Uncharismatic challenger. Trump isn't charismatic, really? Like, this stuff is so easy. No third party challenger. RFK wasn't a third party challenger. I mean, of course they pushed him out, but even then, you had Jill Stein, who we saw was literally getting votes. She was in the lead in some counties on election night. So no third party? Really? Short-term economy? You give that to Kamala? It's trash. Long-term economy? You give that to Kamala? The outlook was trash. Really? Really? Like, it's so easy to just flip these. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right there off the bat. Flipped. Gone the opposite direction. And but this is the thing. He's so Trump deranged that he destroyed his own keys. He didn't put his bias to the side and read his own keys properly, because if he did, he would have predicted Trump was going to win. But he's so Trump deranged, and you saw that throughout some of these clips that I've shown in past videos. He's so Trump deranged that he couldn't even read his own keys properly. And it's just like, okay, well, destroy your own reputation. Go ahead. And instead of just coming out and saying, yeah, that's my fault. I let my hatred for Trump blind me with my keys, which could put him back on the map. If he just came out and said, I let my Trump derangement blind me. If I would have read my keys properly and judged them properly without any bias, You know, forgive me because I really hate Trump. I did not want him to win. So I was trying to, you know, conjure up things in my mind. But if I would have read them properly, I could have easily predicted that he was going to win. And in the future, I will put my bias to the side and read my keys properly. His reputation would still be intact. But instead, he comes out and blames racism. It's racism's fault and misinformation and disinformation. And that billionaire Elon Musk, it's his fault. What? It's his fault that you read the keys wrong? Make that make sense. It doesn't. So, hey, have at it. Destroy your own reputation. Go ahead. Don't care. it ain't mine, right? So, destroy it if you must. Have at it. Have fun. You know what I mean? It just some of the stuff that these Democrats do, man, it just doesn't make any type of sense at all whatsoever. You just like scratch your head at it like, bro, what? I guess. Anyway, y'all let me know your thoughts and your opinions on this in the comment section below. Peace and love. I'm out.